Hello and welcome back. In our previous video, go look at our Bmad core and user guide. We've gone through a project idea and using the analyst to kind of help facilitate expanding that to a brief.md. Then from a brief MD markdown file, you then work with your project manager, your PM agent, which then creates a PRD markdown file. Then from that PRD markdown file, you can create a UI with it, either in Lovable or just have it spec out the entire front end, or if it's just an API, you need none of that. You can skip straight to the architecture. And architecture is what we did last time. And you can see that it created an architecture.md. We've got an architecture, a brief, a front end, and a PRD.md. As you can see here, it kind of was working on the best. You can see I'm already using 25% of the context window. I recommend when you work with an agent each time, that you should start a new chat just to kind of clear out your context window. The objective of the next step of the project owner, I know it's kind of similar to project manager, but the project owner is kind of like a checklist where they're going to review the documents of your architecture, your brief, your front end, your PRD, make sure everything aligns and see if there's any conflicts, kind of make you aware of all of those. So as you see here, we've done analyst, project manager, UI expert, architect. Now we're going to project owner. It's kind of like they validate the cohesion of your brief.md, your PRD.md, your front end, your architecture. So to call this, let's go ahead and go with project owner. This one doesn't have to be that smart of a model, so I'm probably going to go with something like Claude 4 Sonnet, something that's got a big context window that can fit all of those documents. So I may actually turn on max mode because this is going to try and load all of these documents. That's a very big file, that's a very big file, etc. So let's go ahead and tell it star help. We're getting some help. Let's make this a little bit bigger so we can see a bit better. So you can see it's, hi, I'm Sarah, your technical owner, process steward. So we want this one. Let's actually go ahead and close this. We want Sarah, the project owner, to kind of validate all of this is in alignment. So we're going to go ahead and execute a checklist PO, kind of do like a master checklist of everything. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to go project owner, PO at PO, and they'll execute checklist PO. So it's going to run through a master checklist and kind of make sure everything's aligned. You can see it's picking things up from the documentation. So we can go in interactive mode. So you can choose one section by section interactive mode, or just kind of put it in YOLO mode and just kind of hope for the best. Would not recommend this, but you can if it's like a really small project. Let's go section by section. So it's analyzing my existing structure, and then based on my documents, it's kind of going through everything. So I'm gonna let this continue as it thinks. It's looking at the deployment configuration that we identified inside of the architecture. So you see it's reading my existing code. It's kind of examining it, examining our validation. Let's see what it says. So it's seeing. Okay. All right. So essentially it says, hey, I like to overall document the process. There are some things that aren't really that well documented in terms of the current systems identified. It says that there's no specific rollback procedures documented, only general mentions. So it says we kind of fail on this type of planning and that we need to expand on this. And then it's kind of going to go through all the other parts. And like I said, it's kind of going to give you notes there. So now it's asking us now what we're going to do for the next steps. The things that it's identified: missing rollback procedure, incomplete integration testing, and missing dependency compatibility analysis. well, I don't know why that's so hard for me to say today, but let's go ahead and tell it that we want to go ahead and add the missing rollback procedure and the inconsistent. So let's go with project owner. So go ahead and create the, actually I'm going to use voice to text. Go ahead and create a detailed rollback procedure and also implement a comprehensive integration test. Also document all current integration points between front-end and back-end components. So it's going to think on notes, create a to-do list. It's going to scan all the existing code that I have. It's looking at my existing tests and just continuing down the path. All right, so it went through the checklist and let's see what all the things it did. So, wow, it did quite a bit. All right, so created integrations point, markdown file, rollback procedures, and it created the integration tests and the JavaScript associated with that, and created a run test for running those. Wrote a testing strategy markdown file, did some verbose stuff. We'll just move on, but as you can see, it kind of completed all those steps. There was missing, and so now it should pass that. So it hasn't identified, so it's partially, so before it was partial, now it's passed. We've passed all the previous sections. So let's go ahead and go to the next section. So PM, let's go to the next section. Oops, I actually did project manager instead of project owner. Let's fix that. Project owner. Let's continue to the next steps. All right, so let's see what it did now. So the things before are all passed. The things that have failed are deployment pipelines that needs to be fixed. But other than that, it should. Let's go ahead and create the missing deployment infrastructure. Let's create the missing deployment infrastructure. Oops. Sure. Please. So it's created a for to-do task list. I did notice before that this thing is using quite a bit of the context window. When something's really big, I recommend using the Gemini models. Just they have a 1 million context window token size. So you can see now it's creating the GitHub workflows for the deployment action workflow. Let's let it go ahead and continue. As you can see, it finished going through it. Look at all the things it did. Wow, it did quite a bit. So I'm not going to bore you with all of it, but helped finish taking them from failed to passed. I can see now we're actually at nearly our context window limit. So I'm going to actually swap to a model I know that has a much bigger context window. I think it's Flash. Let me double check. I think it's Flash, Gemini 2.5 Flash. I think that will increase our context window. So project owner, go ahead and review the next section. By me swapping to Gemini, it's got a much bigger context window of like 1 million tokens, while that one before was like 200K tokens. So we should be able to fit all this now. And now it finished. So it looks like most things are now passed, passed. So it said we should consider these things. Not really that worried about that. And let's go ahead and move to the next section. All right, and looks like we've gone through the next section of the UI UX. Everything is passed. It's got a front end. It's noticing we don't have anything for an icon library. So it's something we should resolve. Not really too worried about that. So I'm just going to tell it to not worry about that and just kind of move forward. So project owner, go ahead and proceed to the next section. So you can see it's now finishing validation portion with the user agent, developer agent tasks. So all this looks fine. Let's go ahead and go to the next section. Go ahead and go to the next section. So now it's gone over the next section. Technical dependencies, functional dependencies, cross-epic dependencies. Didn't identify any critical issues, so let's go ahead and go to the next section. Go ahead and go to the next section. All right, so it's further validation of risk management, PRD, architecture, it's kind of passed. It says all this is passed. No critical things have been identified. And yeah, we should just go to the next section. All that looks good. Project owner. Go ahead and go to the next section. Keep all. All right. And section 8, MVP scope. That's minimum valuable product. That's kind of like, hey, this is the minimum that we need to build to kind of prove your concept. And then you can add other features onto it. It's kind of creating a foundation for your product and then adding features in the future that you may want. It's kind of going through all of this. Everything passed. Everything looks good. Let's go ahead and move on. Go ahead and move to the next section. I think it's got one more thing to do, but yeah, no, it's documented handoff. All the things have passed. Likes how everything looks. Everything looks good. So it's identified some critical issues that we should work on. So there's no dedicated document explaining coding standards for the TypeScript or name conventions for prettier configuration. But overall, it says should be fine. So let's go ahead and just continue to the next section. Go ahead and continue to the next section. Now, like I said, I think this is the last part. So basically, here's our final report and everything. So it's gonna go saying, hey, everything passed, yay. Some things that we should fix for quality, overall the validation report, and kind of what it's recommending, risk assessment, MVP completeness, implementation readiness, gives you a 9 of 10 readiness score, recommendations, integration confidence is very high confidence, and overall looks good. So you can ask questions about this plan if you want to, but overall it looks good. So as you can see, it kind of had a deployment checklist, rollback procedures that it added, and a testing strategy. And the next thing I'm going to teach you how to shard out the documents. So you can see these documents are quite lengthy. If you try and reference all of this when development, it's going to use up a bunch of your context window. Going to be hard for your developer and your Scrum Master to break this all down. So when I talk about Scrum Master, like I said in the beginning, you have Analyst, which we've already done, Project Manager, which helps you kind of organize it, UI Expert, which we've already done, creates a front end spec, the architecture, which kind of breaks down the technology stack that you can be using, the project owner, which kind of validates everything which we've just done. The next part is we're going to shard those documents into smaller kind of documents so that the Scrum Master can create stories, create epics and stories, and kind of help break that process down into smaller bite-sized pieces for your developer and your QA to build. And we'll see you in the next video.